I'll say, hey, if you're anything like me, and I hope you are, you might be asking yourself, how did Starkiller Base get created? Who started Starkiller Base, and when did this all happen? Well, lucky for you, we've got the answers today on Final Death Star's edition of Why Disney's Star Wars Doesn't Make Any Sense. Hey guys, Final Death Star. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, then please hit that little red button there that says subscribe. It's as easy as that. And give that little thumbs up a click or two as well. Oh, I guess just one click. I guess you can't go a click or two because you can only click it once. So click it once. Well, today's we've got a Screen Rant article here, and it's gonna explain us something that again, the problem with Disney Star Wars, the more they try to answer things, the more convoluted it gets. It starts to not make any sense at all, but we're going to try to make some sense of it here. Okay, so Star Wars suggests Starkiller Base was made before the original trilogy. Yes, that's how they're going to try to explain Starkiller Base. Star Wars has revealed that the construction of Starkiller Base began in the days of the Empire, and it's been going on for a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Star Wars has hinted that Starkiller Base was constructed by the Empire, not the First Order, and that construction began shortly after Palpatine became Emperor in Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. The sequel trilogy launched with the introduction of the new superweapon Starkiller Base, which was essentially a Death Star on steroids, which is essentially J.J. Abrams running out of ideas, not having any original ideas. Starkiller Base was an entire planet that had been converted into a mobile battle station by hollowing out its core. And it was armed with a superweapon that consumed suns as a power source. The Jedi Fallen Order game recently confirmed that Starkiller Base planet was Ilum, an icy and lifeless world that was unusually rich in kyber crystals. And now The Rise of Skywalker Visual Dictionary has tied everything together quite neatly, or I might add, quite convolutedly. Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker Visual Dictionary contains a timeline for the entire franchise that's centered around the firing of Starkiller Base in the Star Wars Force Awakens. So it's no longer the Battle of Yavin, it's the firing of Starkiller Base. This confirms that the Empire discovered the planet Ilum a year after Palpatine took the Imperial throne. The Empire immediately began terraforming and strip mining Ilum, converting it into Starkiller Base. It seems that Palpatine's Empire was constructing Starkiller Base at the exact same time they were building the Death Stars. On the whole, this makes sense. Oh, does it, Screen Rant? Does it make perfect sense to you? The construction of the Death Star used almost all the kyber crystals in the entire galaxy, so it should have taken a massive amount to make Starkiller Base. The Jedi Order had preserved the secrets of Ilum's existence for over a millennia, sending younglings there to find the kyber crystals for their lightsabers' core. What's more, in spite of the fact that they'd been using it for so long, the Clone Wars proved that the Jedi hadn't even begun to deplete the vast deposits of kyber. And yet, ironically, this does cause major continuity problems. So how can you say it ties it up all neatly, but then says it causes major continuity problems? I don't know how these people have these contradicting statements. Oh, it's so needlessly and flawlessly tied together. It only causes major continuity problems. Star Wars Resistance revealed that the first attempts to construct Starkiller Base were met with failure. Resistance agents discovered 3 ravaged worlds, each of which had a core drilled out of it. The first had been shattered, the second split in 2, and the third was whole, but completely unstable. Though the Resistance didn't notice it, it was clear that they were flying through planetary cores that were rich in kyber crystals. The First Order's test didn't end there. The system's star had completely disappeared, presumably consumed by the firing of a Starkiller Base weapon. Ironically, these 3 failed Starkiller Base tests now clash with the Star Wars timeline. When exactly were they conducted? Ilum was the prototype, which means it should have been the first failed test. Okay, that's the end of the article. So now they're trying to tie together. This creates more problems. I don't see how this ties anything up neatly. I mean, they already said it contains continuity problems now because Resistance, which is also Disney, doesn't even tie into the theory that they're trying to put out here. The tests are off. There were 3 failed tests. Ilum was what ended up being Starkiller Base, yet that wasn't one of the test planets. So what did they have? How many other, planets were they working on? Or if it was just this one, they couldn't have, because there was only one sun, right? Starkiller Base, if they're going to say that this was created at the same time that the Emperor was creating the Death Stars, what's the purpose? Why? He's using this breaking, new technology of using kyber crystals in a laser form, which hadn't been done before, outside a lightsaber. You hadn't seen like a weaponized version of it. Why even create something that's like drilling out a planet using the sun? I mean, you've got this Death Star thing that you're spending, I don't know how many amount of time and resource. Well, it's at least been 20 years from, because we see the plans of it in Attack of the Clones. It was, I'm sure, the idea was before that, and then we see it come to fruition basically in Rogue One. So, there's a good 20 or at least or 30-year period there of working on the Death Star. That's just one. They were obviously working on the second Death Star, and then we found out from novels he wanted to have a fleet of Death Stars, which is kind of, I guess, where they got the idea of a fleet of Star Destroyers with little Death Star lasers attached to them. Kind of took the idea. And then he was building that at the same time, I guess, right? Because Exegol, Palpatine must have been building his fleet. Wow, he was just building everywhere. Unlimited resources, unlimited manpower. It just doesn't make sense to have a Starkiller Base. You're developing 2 huge technologies, and what was the purpose? If you're going to say the Empire did it, how did the First Order get attached to it? I mean, now, if the First Order was the Empire, because everything was Palpatine, but who in the First Order knew that Palpatine was behind all this? I mean, someone had to have known, right? Because the Empire dissolves, the First Order takes over, even though that's still Snoke, which is still Palpatine, but how did they, who was the one in charge of Starkiller Base? Was it Snoke the whole time? Was the Emperor using the puppet of Snoke to, it just kind of undermines the First Order at all. What's the purpose of them at all? Why not just have the Empire just still remain in existence? He had all his fleet, the Final Order, out there on Exegol, and I guess, he still had whatever the First Order, whatever became of the First Order. It diminishes the threat of them, I think, because that was like the one thing that the First Order had, was the Starkiller Base. Wow, they outdid the Empire somehow, but now, because they're trying to tie everything together and make it all somehow relevant and tie it to Palpatine, it's just creating a lot of confusion. I think it undermines the First Order, honestly. I mean, there's no point to them anyway now. And it just adds confusion as to who. So if Palpatine did this, how did the First Order, when they came to power, how did they take over? And oh my gosh. And then you got this whole Resistance continuity screwed up now. So, not only do they not acknowledge the EU source material, they're starting to lose track of their own source material that they have created, ironically, while trying to make sense of all this. So there you go. More confusion here with Star Wars. It just never ends. All right, guys. Well, let me know what you think of the video. Give it a thumbs up if you like the content, and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Very important to help keep building the channel. And until next time, lock the doors and hope they don't have blasters.